All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Thank you guys so much for being here. I appreciate it. Today we're going to be discussing Casey Putsch's decision to run against Vivek Ramaswamy in the Republican primary for the governorship next May, in May of 2026 to be exact. And the reason why I'm talking about this is because this is taking place in the context of something much larger, which is this burgeoning America First movement that seems to be gaining traction on the right wing. And of course, I don't need to litigate this. Everybody knows what I'm referring to. America First, this nationalist movement that seeks to fight against globalism and the interests of billionaires and oligarchs who want to basically hollow out the entire country and import third worlders to turn the United States into a class or create a class in which there are owners and peasants. Essentially, they want to create a feudal overlord society where billionaire oligarchs who own everything, they own every company, they own every tech company, they own all the warehouses and the facilities and the businesses. They want to own all of it and then have poor people from third world countries come in and work for less to manage it so that the people at the top can make more money while leaving Americans with less. And Casey Putsch is stepping into the ring to fight against Vivek Ramaswamy to prevent this situation from getting even worse. So I'm going to be watching Casey Putsch's video. It is a video that is directed at Vivek Ramaswamy, and he is calling him out and basically giving the audience an introduction to who he is. He's telling us where he's from, what his family was like, what his upbringing was like, what the state of Ohio is like, and he's also going to lay in to Vivek Ramaswamy. And we'll get into Vivek Ramaswamy in a second, but I want to just stay on Casey Putsch. Now, Casey Putsch, he is from Ohio. I forget what city to be specific, but he was born and raised in Ohio. His mom and dad were born and raised there as well. His grandparents were also born and raised in Ohio. So he comes from a family of Ohioans, and they owned a car company or a mechanic shop. They also owned a golf course in Ohio. So they've owned property in the state, and it was passed down through several generations. So they were owners in Ohio. They built businesses in Ohio. And Casey Putsch specifically started a 501c3, and he created it to basically help students from Ohio get jobs after high school in vocational programs and in the trades. So this guy is a true Ohioan. He loves his state. He's a patriot. He's actually used his wealth and resources to better his state and better his community. Vivek Ramaswamy cannot say the same thing. Vivek Ramaswamy is a billionaire. Vivek Ramaswamy is a thief. Vivek Ramaswamy is a kleptocrat. Vivek Ramaswamy is self-interested and cares about nothing more than his own power and his own wealth and being able to control our politics and being able to control your life. So this is the reason why I'm discussing Casey Putsch today. Now, to be specific, Casey Putsch is running on a platform that is populist-leaning. And at the outset, I want to make it very clear to you guys, we cannot be fooled. We cannot be caught up in sentiment. We cannot be caught up in archetypes. We cannot be caught up in identities. All of that needs to be ignored. White, black, heritage American, I get it. Maybe those things are interesting to talk about on the internet, but on a fundamental level, we need to be primarily concerned with the character and the policies of the people that we're voting for. That is it. That is the primary concern. How will their policies improve your circumstances on a material level? That is the ultimate priority. Everything else is a second matter of concern. They are second-order concerns. Where they're from, their identity, all these sorts of things. Now, there is overlap, but those are not the primary things. It is likely that somebody born and raised in Ohio with family from Ohio who did philanthropy in Ohio is more likely to be pro-Ohio and care more about Ohio and his community than some random outsider like Vivek Ramaswamy who made his money in finance. Now, that's not necessarily true. Obviously, sometimes different things happen. Maybe somebody who's born and raised in Ohio is selfish, they are self-aggrandizing, they are a globalist, and somebody like Vivek Ramaswamy who comes from a rich Indian family might actually be more supportive of the state than a guy like Casey Putsch, but that's generally not the case. Okay? So I'm saying that at the outset because I want you guys to be more focused on policy, more focused on character, more focused on plans, as opposed to sweet words, okay? Because politicians know how to play for the camera. J.D. Vance is doing a great job at this. He's kissing the wall in Israel. He's saying that America is a Christian nation. He's saying you don't have to apologize for being white anymore. He's calling Jasmine Crockett a street girl. He's doing this whole racist, nativist thing that is appealing to the sensibilities of conservatives who don't know any better. But we are better than that. We're smarter than that. And that's the reason why you have to be more discerning. And you can't fall for these sorts of things. If you fall for the imagery and the American flag and these cheap stories from Twitter about Christ and Jesus and this carpenter from Bethlehem, then you are going to be nothing more than a pawn for these people. So this is why you need to learn to think critically and be very cautious about giving your support to somebody based on the nice things that they say. Now, that's at the outset. I want to get into Casey Putsch specifically and the plan that he has for Ohio. So he says he wants to do right to repair, which is good. Right to repair is where businesses are provided with the tools necessary to repair their own businesses if the utilities give out. So they're reimbursed for it. They don't have to pay for it from a third party. Okay? That's good. He's also looking at banning any foreign entities from buying property in the state of Ohio. That's also good. That's a very positive development. Of course, what is the globalist mission? Buy up as much property in Ohio, let the value of these properties go up, and then sell it once it reaches a peak. Or just hoard it for the sake of speculation. He's saying we're not going to let any foreign entities buy property in Ohio. Only Ohioans can buy property here because this is their home. That's also good. I like that a lot. Fighting back against this globalist agenda, this globalist mission. Vivek Ramaswamy is not looking at doing that. Casey Putsch is, and that already puts him one step above Vivek Ramaswamy. And he's also looking at preventing all these federal injunctions from preventing ICE from going in and removing illegal migrants. As you guys know, there's a lot of Haitians in the state of Ohio who are there illegally. There's Venezuelans there, Mexicans there. People from all across the country have somehow found their way in the state of Ohio. God knows how, but they did. And so Casey Putsch is looking at new ways to prevent federal injunctions from preventing the Trump administration from going in and removing people who are there illegally. He's going to be very friendly and amicable towards the Trump administration on that particular policy, which I support wholeheartedly. And those are just a few of the things that Casey Putsch has put forward. He's got a very populist, a very America first, if you could say Americans first platform, and that's always good. And, Vivek Ramaswamy, on the other hand, he wants to go in here, he wants to hollow it out, he wants to do deregulation, AI deregulation, all these anti-ESG things. And it's like, when you hear deregulation, what comes to mind? It should be rather obvious. When we talk about deregulation, we're talking about making it easier for businesses and investors or builders or innovators, making it easier for them to cut corners on things like infrastructure. And this is obviously done with the goal of maximizing the profit for the company. So making it easier for them to cut corners on things like utility, on things like infrastructure. And it's like, in Ohio of all places, in a place where the infrastructure has been completely hollowed out, a state that's been left to rot, you're going to bring more deregulation there? Really? Is that what that place needs? So I don't trust Vivek in the slightest. I don't like Vivek. I think he's slimy. I think he's a shapeshifter. I don't think he's honest. And we'll get into that in a second. But he's not honest. He is a shapeshifter. He is a creature. And he's one of these guys who just wants to get rich. His net worth is $1.9 billion, and he made all of his money in financial schemes. All of his money comes from selling shares on fake subsidiaries after pumping up the value of them through speculation, IPOs, private investment. And he would swap the shares that he had in these subsidiaries for cash, for debt and other companies that were accruing interest, or he would sell these shares once the value of them got jacked up. And then once the stock collapsed, he would walk away with the money while everybody else was left holding the bag. So specifically, he created a biotech company in 2014 called Roivant. Now, Roivant was a company that would buy the rights to abandoned drugs that had failed previous trials. So Roivant would buy the rights to these drugs and then make subsidiaries based off of the names of these drugs. And he made 15, 20 different subsidiaries. And we can actually go through the list. And this is kind of how you get into the more suspicious and opaque elements of his wealth, which is really off-putting when you think about it. It says between 2014 and 2020, Roivant, which is the parent company, created 15 to 20 subsidiaries. The major ones include Axovant, Myovant, Dermavant, Urovant, Enzivant, Immunovant, Televant, Priovant, Genevant, Hemivant, Metavant, Alivant, Sinovant. So just put a few letters before the word Vant. And there you go. You got a subsidiary out of that. And a subsidiary, for those of you who are not familiar, it is a company that exists under a parent company, a larger organization. So he founded Roivant. He made all these subsidiaries, and all these subsidiaries were based on the failed drugs that he had the rights to. And then he would promote all these drugs to investors and say, this is a great opportunity. This is a breakthrough. They would invest. The value of these subsidiaries would go up. And because Roivant, the parent company, owned major shares in all these subsidiaries, once the value of these subsidiaries went up, so did the value of the parent company. And then, of course, in the process, Vivek Ramaswamy's net worth went up. And he knew in many cases that all these drugs would fail, that it wouldn't work. But he walked away with billions of dollars. 75 to 80% of these drugs never reached the market. They never passed all the trials. So all the money he made was through speculation and finance and asset acquisition and swapping around derivatives. So this guy is like a complete financier. He's never built anything. He's never innovated anything. Everything that he has, all the wealth that he has attracted comes from scheming, from finance. This guy is not an innovator. He's not a builder. He's not a creator. He is a complete finance creature. He is an opportunist. That is all this guy is. This guy's net worth is $1.9 billion. What has he built? What has he done? What has he accomplished other than scamming people out of millions of dollars? That's Vivek Ramaswamy. And once again, look, if Vivek is going to go in there and put forward a really populist, pro-Ohio platform, and all the policies that he thinks up are going to lead to material gain for the people in Ohio, then sure, I would vote for him. But that's not what he's doing. That's not his goal. His goal is to go in there, deregulate, and make it easier for all his buddies to go in there with their AI bullshit, with their tech bullshit, that he's going to invest in and then make money from. All while hollowing out the state through deregulation. You think this guy's going to restore prosperity to Ohio through AI and deregulation? Really? AI is not even popular. None of this stuff is popular. So I don't trust Vivek Ramaswamy. I don't like Vivek Ramaswamy. Like I said, if he's going to run on a platform that's going to benefit Ohioans, then sure, I'd vote for him. But that's not what he's proposing. Now, Putsch, I'm more optimistic about. And he seems like a more sincere, genuine, straightforward guy. I have a lot more faith in Putsch than Ramaswamy. But we're going to react to this video from Putsch here. I'll let you guys listen to what he has to say. Because overall, I thought it was pretty interesting. So we're going to react to this together. I don't know if my hopes for this guy are very high. I don't know what he's all about. He only posted this video a week ago. I have no idea what this guy is about. But we'll learn. As time progresses, we will learn more about who this guy is, and based on what we learn about him, we'll be able to make more informed decisions, more accurate decisions. But with that said, we're going to go ahead and get right into this. All right, let's play this from the beginning. Let's go.
It's generally known that the New York Times is leftist propaganda. So why is it that Vivek Ramaswamy, a Republican candidate for the governor of Ohio, is authoring an article entitled, "What is an American?" Well, considering he's an Indian anchor baby, that makes zero sense. But considering the fact that he's a globalist Trojan horse, yeah, actually that tracks. Which is also the reason why we all hate him, and I am also running as a Republican candidate for the governor of Ohio, specifically to stop Vivek and save the state.
Nice.
More than just tearing apart his stupid article and understanding what propaganda is, we're going to dive into exactly Vivek, what he's done with his life, what he hasn't done with his life, and frankly, I'm going to talk to you about what I've done with my life. Now, I don't have any propaganda for you. It's simply facts. And if you don't like me, don't vote for me. Propaganda is the deliberate and systematic dissemination of information, ideas, rumors, or images, often biased, selective, or manipulative, to influence public opinion, attitudes, emotions, or actions in favor of a specific cause, ideology, political agenda, or commercial interest.
Yeah, this is the whole thing with Trump. Trump bombed Nigeria today. And everybody's jumping up and down about how great this is. Oh, Trump's a patriot. He's fighting back against radical jihad. He's fighting against radical Muslims, radical Islam. He's bombing Nigeria. And he goes on True Social and he's talking about, we're saving Christians. We're defending Christians. These radical Muslims have been attacking Christians for centuries. We're defending them. We're the great United States of America. We're protecting our Christian brothers and sisters. If you have a shred of common sense, you know that Trump saying this is doing nothing more than trying to appease or appeal to the sensibilities of his evangelical base. All the Christians on Twitter, all the Christian surrogates in MAGA, they're going to see this and say, oh, he's the defender of Christendom. Trump does not care about Christians. He's not even a Christian. He doesn't care about Christianity or the faith or Jesus Christ. He's not interested in that. So do not be fooled by these cynical ploys. Do not be fooled by the rhetoric. That's what propaganda is. And I'm going to let him continue, but it's just an aside. It is relevant. You can't be that easily fooled. You just can't be that easily fooled. Anybody who thinks Trump genuinely and legitimately cares about the safety of Christians in Nigeria is kidding themselves. He's doing it for political points to win domestically. He wants to look good to the base. He wants to look good to Christian voters. That's it. Okay? Maybe I'm being cynical, but I think that's a lot closer to the truth than assuming that he cares about Christianity and Christians on a deep level. I don't get that. I don't get that impression from Trump.
This is going to be fun. Opinion. What is an American? Gee, Vivek, since your parents came over from India, and I think your dad still isn't even a citizen, and your mom eventually became one, but not before you were born in America to just get your citizenship on a technicality, we would love for you to tell us what an American is. There are two competing visions now emerging on the American right, and they are incompatible. See, immediately he's setting up a premise. These are two things, they don't work together. One vision of American identity is based on lineage, blood, and soil. Inherited attributes matter most. The purest form of American is the so-called heritage American, one whose ancestry traces back to the founding of the United States or earlier. This view is now popularized by the Groyper right, a rapidly ascendant online movement that argues for the creation of white-centric identity. Okay, let's just back it up. So the Groyper right, that is in fact a term that I don't even think they made, that's probably been put on anybody who has ever seen a Nick Fuentes video of any kind.
Why is he saying Fuentes? Just say Fuentes. It's not difficult. He's doing like this whole affect. I don't know what this is about. Like this kind of sardonic affect. It's not compelling.
It is a label. And the reason they're labeling everybody who's ever seen that is because they want to put you into a box so they can shoot you, metaphorically speaking, at the moment. Anyway, let's keep going.
Right.
One that I anticipated in my 2022 book, Nation of Victims, to anti-white discrimination over the last half decade. And it is no longer just a fringe viewpoint. Yeah, that's dynamite, Vivek. You authored a book. If we go back far enough, didn't you give money to the Democrats? Didn't you practice DEI in your companies before writing a book condemning it?
That's funny.
Saying you flip-flop is not strong enough. It's not being a flip-flopper. It's that you never really stood for anything other than what will make you money or get ahead in terms of power at any given time from your life. But that's what we see and feel and observe. So they're setting everyone up here, saying that what he's done is he's showing that one movement is not acceptable because they're putting you into that same barrel as Fuentes, anybody who's seen Fuentes, because they want to discredit you in some way. Now, what has happened is he's calling it predictable, meaning it's so dumb, why didn't you see this already? And what he's also doing is painting himself as an expert, saying, well, I wrote a book in this year entitled this, where I'm so brilliant, I just knew this was gonna happen. Go screw yourself, Vivek. The alternative, and in my view, correct version of American identity is based on ideals. You know what? I'm just gonna stop there. You guys can read this garbage article on your own. Let's talk about ideals. I'm a little pissed. Well, my ideals was to work damn hard to provide for yourself. Don't be a victim. Take some self-responsibility. Build a business. Be part of a job or a community. Create a value to society tangibly. Help your fellow man. Make your community better. Make your car better. Fix up your house. Whatever it is, leave it better than when you first came to it.
I like that.
But I was raised by my grandfather that was Army infantry who grew up in the Great Depression. And he would always say, we would give another person the shirt off our backs if they needed it. Mm-hmm. But just when we needed help us.
My dad used to, during the, not the spring, during the fall, my dad would rake up the leaves off the curb for our neighbors to get them off the street, make the street look nice and tidy, make the cul-de-sac look nicer. There's a kind of communal responsibility that is very American. And you notice that in more middle class and more suburban areas. There's a sense of pride that people have in their community, a sense of pride that people have even in their subdivision that seems to be lost in many other areas of the country, especially in urban areas.
That's what I was raised by.
Right.
He was also a proud
sense of community responsibility to others in your community. That's a very American value.
Military man, as was his brother in the Air Force, as was their brother-in-law in the Air Force, as was their father in the Army, as was their grandfather in the cavalry. You see, Vivek, the thing you don't get and you will never get, and frankly, it's clear that you don't care or ever care to get because you're just a globalist. Right. Ohio's not your home.
Right.
America is barely your home. It's mostly just a place for you to sap money out of, but I'm getting ahead of myself. The ideals you don't get in being American and having an American dream is basically that we all want to be able to work hard and actually create something of value, a good or a service, make our community, our state, our nation better for everybody, and that we're going to have a future. We're going to be able to own a home. Maybe pass something down to our kids one day. We're going to be able to go to school and end up in a job market and not have some governor candidate that wants to import unlimited H-1B visas from India, which is a highly dissimilar nation and basically the third world to us, regardless of whether you have some beautiful cultural things or not, regardless of if we're friends with anybody from India or not. It's a dissimilar culture, and so is China. So what you want to do, because you're going to be wealthy with your corporate crony friends, is import massive H-1Bs, because corporations can hire them for less money than Americans. Fact.
True.
Just ask Grok. He'll tell you how much Elon saves at Tesla hiring H-1Bs. Don't hold it against me. Grok's his messenger. Anyway, the beautiful thing, and I mean that sarcastically,
that's the globalist
that
mission.
does when corporations can hire...
The globalist ideal is to have the corporate overlords import as many third worlders as possible to these first world nations to be their feudal slaves, to work for as little as possible while the entire middle class basically gets hollowed out and becomes a peasant class. But because they have rights as Americans and because they're American citizens, they're not here on visas, and they have basic demands, those demands will be sacrificed. The most basic demands will be sacrificed. The most fundamental demands about money, dignity, a basic minimum wage, those things will be sacrificed, or even a livable salary, those things will be sacrificed in favor of H-1B visas and people who want to come here from third world countries to have access to our wealth and resources, who are willing to work for less to make somebody else richer, while regular American citizens get screwed over. And that's the whole thing. Globalists want to turn the entire world, or the entire first world, the developed world, into their feudal property. They're the feudal lord. Their property is all the capital that they own, the factories, the warehouses, the facilities. And they want third worlders to come in there and work those jobs, at tech companies even, and work those jobs for as little as possible so that the slave masters or the feudal masters can make as much as possible, while regular, enterprising, and middle-class Americans get thrown to the wayside. We don't even get access to this feudal system because the feudal system, we would demand too much of it. We would demand too much of that feudal system. Basic dignity, 40-hour work week, decent working conditions, benefits, a decent salary, enough to take care of a family. They don't want to give that to us. And of course, Vivek is no different. So there you have it.
Unlimited Indian H-1Bs, say in Ohio, is it destroys the job market for Americans who worked hard and did everything right and were looking forward to achieving an American dream. But what happens is the corporations can just get any Indians they want for less. It destroys the job market. And now suddenly they get paid less when everything else is inflated and disaster, including the electricity bills, because you're shoving data centers right up our ass. So Vivek, if you think being an American is all about ideals, in a sense, you're right. Because we have the ideals that we can actually work hard, create something of value, help our fellow man, and have a future. And we want leaders who will protect that for us.
Right.
Who will fight for that to exist. We don't want some jerk that was raised by people from some foreign land with a dissimilar culture to come in and destroy our future while he pisses in our face and tells us it's rain. We're tired of you. You ran for president a couple of years ago. You didn't poll as well as Chris Krispy Kreme Christie, so you bounced out to ride Donald Trump's coattails for all of eternity while using his talking points. Hopefully buying your way on every single podcast so that you can make people think you're special when you're not and you've done nothing.
Once you see all these like random made in a lab politicians with these weird haircuts get onto all these podcasts everywhere, you need to have your guard up because it is a psychological war. Seriously. They are trying to convince you that they are something that they're not. They get in front of the camera, they act a role, they say all the right things, they dress the part, they say things that sound vaguely pro-American, vaguely populist. And then if you look into these people, they're very suspicious when you look at their connections to Silicon Valley, to DC, to some random billionaire, to some random multinational, to some random foreign investor, to some random shell company that has ties to Saudi Arabia or Qatar or the UAE. I mean, a lot of weird stuff is happening here because of globalism, and you cannot trust these people. I am telling you, do not trust these people. Once you start seeing people on every podcast, whether it's All In, whether it's, I don't even know all of them, Theo Vaughn, it does not matter. You need to be skeptical. And JD Vance is a primary example of this. Where did this guy come from? This guy was made in a lab. He's not real. He's on Ozempic. He sounds weird. His politics are radically different from what they were 10 years ago. He goes up there, he says, America is a Christian nation. You don't have to feel sorry for being white. But he has a biracial family and an Indian wife. And he cosplays as a Hindu with a red dot in his forehead. And he got money from Peter Thiel to win his seat in Ohio in 2022 and to start his capital firm called Naria Capital and to start Rockbridge Network. He got money from Peter Thiel for that too, to create a media conglomerate, Rockbridge Network, to fund different new media. And we say new media, we're talking about podcasts, YouTube shows, streamers. He created a media conglomerate called Rockbridge Network. He got money from Peter Thiel, and now he wants to fund all these different podcasts and all these different shows on YouTube. And one of them is Tucker Carlson show. And Tucker Carlson has a holding company called Tucker Carlson Network. He got money from 1789 Capital, which comes from Rockbridge Network. You gotta be suspicious of all of it. It's very weird. It is a globalist mission. It is a globalist push, which is why I will never, and I, I've been partial to Vance because he says some good things, but you got to be careful with these people. You really got to be careful. You cannot trust what they say. They say all the right things. They say all the right things. It sounds good. They got the American flag. They say we're fighting the left. We're doing this for Charlie Kirk. America is a Christian nation. All of it is a psychological war. All of it. He got his money from Peter Thiel for his capital firm, for his media conglomerate. His first job was in Silicon Valley at some random biotech company, and biotech is full of financial scheming. He got that job out of Yale Law School from Peter Thiel. That's where the connection was from. He connected him out of Yale to get this job at a biotech firm in California, East Coast to West Coast, law school to biotech. And Peter Thiel is the one who facilitated all that. So this guy is, you got to be suspicious. Be very suspicious. So, yeah, this globalist thing it's real. We have to fight it.
So you get into do Doge, which is arguably one of, if not the most important thing for the United States,
So I'm not a
but that
globalist.
doesn't work for you, right? It's going to be too hard, too much pushback. Maybe you couldn't get along with Elon and his guys. Maybe you couldn't get along with Trump, and then, weirdly you're out. But no, it's okay, because you spent millions of dollars campaigning on behalf of Donald to ride his coattails, so he's going to have to give you Ohio as a consequence.
And mass immigration is a part of the globalist agenda. Let's not forget that. Because of economies of scale, more workers, more productivity, more money for your overlords. It's just how it goes. While they deprive us.
Prize. And that probably explains why all your tech bro buddies, all the podcast people that you bought out, and the gutless GOPs that can't stand up to that, because at least we were happy that Donald got in when he did, because we think this is going to go somewhere, all endorsed you. And now they're stuck with you. But here's the thing, Ohio's not. Because the only thing a state is, are the people. They are the most important resource,
Right. 100%.
period.
Yep.
I know you want to take advantage of the land and the water and the electricity for data centers.
Yep.
And shove it on us normies to pay for. But what you don't get, it's the people, and it's what we strive and fight for.
Yep.
So you can write your bullshit propaganda piece in the New York Times, but we all see through it. Franklin has had enough of Vivek Ramaswamy. Your Constellation Prize is not going well. Never on my life bingo card was it to run for office. Certainly not governor. But so help me God, if I am the last man standing, I will stop you from destroying everybody's lives.
Right.
Our American ideal, our shred of the American dream, to make our community better, to make our own lives, our families' lives, our friends, and people we don't know that maybe don't even look like us or even like the same invisible man in the sky. We want to make all Americans' lives better, and we don't want to get sold out by somebody like you.
Right.
Somebody who embodies the means, how do you do, fellow kids? We're tired of it. Let me explain why we're tired of it and why we don't think you're an American. You know, hey, Vivek, let me ask you something. How do you decide whether you need to get a metric or an American standard crescent wrench? Do you know the difference? Hey, Vivek, did you have a hard time changing the blinker fluid in your car?
Okay, but I think a lot of Americans couldn't answer that, to be fair.
Or do you pay somebody to do that?
A lot of Americans.
Have you ever been driving along and felt your muffler bearings going out? Is that something you've ever experienced, or do you just pay for somebody to have that? By the way, for all the people that don't get those jokes, those are not things that exist. I'm setting it up because he doesn't know that. Because he's never done a damn thing with his own two hands. I don't think he's ever worked an honest day's work in his life. He's become a billionaire multiple times over, and yet this man has created no product.
Right.
He has no business in Ohio, literally. He has done no philanthropy in Ohio. He didn't go to college in Ohio. He went to what? Harvard and Yale? With what, a scholarship from the Soros family money?
So he's in there with the globalists. He's really in there. Jeez.
Great job, GOP. Great job. Couple of things here. One,
So the GOP and the Democrat Party are both globalist controlled. Let's just be real.
Gutless. We're tired of being in Plato's allegory of the cave. We're tired of this garbage you put on us. We're tired of the high-level people that think, you know what, let's just shove Vivek in. We know he's a garbage candidate in every way, shape, and form, but he's a billionaire. He's one of our crony buddies. And if nobody pushes back, no big deal. The dumb normies of Ohio will just take anything we shove up their butt. No, we won't. Let me tell you a little bit about my life. Is it perfect? No. Is it colorful? Yeah. Am I perfect? No. Do I strive to be better? Yes. Am I a terrible person? No.
He seems decent, honestly.
But here's the thing. I grew up in Tiffin, Ohio, like 18, 20,000 people, I don't exactly remember, in the 1980s and the 90s. And actually, we moved there when I was about 3 years old, from Rocky River, Ohio. My dad and my grandfather and grandmother on that side, they loved cars, they sold cars, and they were super into golf. They were teaching professional golfers of America. And the whole family on this side and my mom's side got together to buy the little golf course called Seneca Hills in Tiffin, Ohio, south of town. Nothing special. It ain't like the Don's golf courses. Doesn't even have sand traps. Small town, Ohio. Work from 6 o'clock in the morning to 10 o'clock at night, every damn day of the week throughout the entire season. And when it was winter season, we threw banquets and parties. We did everything from fix diesel mowers to cut grass and understand the agronomy in entire lands and manage all that and all the people and all the advertising and everything for 120 acres.
I love it.
So it's a lot of damn work. Even though all the people that got to go there got to enjoy themselves, we didn't. We didn't get to go on vacation.
That's awesome.
But when I was a kid, in the late 80s and 90s, everybody golfs at the golf course, including all the blue-collar people, all the white-collar people, everybody. So I got to hear what they say, what they talk about, what they know. And the first things that started to hit, Tiffin, were when manufacturing was going away and companies were being sold out. And blue-collar people were losing their jobs in the 80s and 90s. National Machinery, American Standard, the Atlas plant, backbones of small town. That was the first thing I noticed that was hurting it. You know, it's interesting, the things that Washington and government do to screw everything and everybody over. Has to do with that, doesn't it?
Yep.
But then later, 2008 financial crisis brought to us by idiotic lending. Government. Well, my dad was old enough, he wanted to sell the golf course.
CDOs.
Really couldn't, because there was no lending for something like that.
Yep.
To the point where it was looking like the bank was looking forward to basically just being able to take it if we couldn't manage or were too tired. So sold it for peanuts. Dad didn't get to retire. Somebody bought the golf course. He probably didn't have any business really running one. Kind of run it into the ground. And then later, not long ago, it was sold just for the land, and I saw in a satellite image, plowed under. All the decades that ever went into building that and being an awesome community centerpiece, gone.
Yeah.
All the memories, gone. All the land, all of the environment, all the trees, all the meadows, all the flowers, all the fish, all the bees, everything, gone. Washington, D.C. Politicians. Garbage people like Vivek Ramaswamy, manipulating and ruining everybody's lives.
Yep. I like
But
it.
my life continued.
Not
I loved
Vivek,
cars.
him.
Always wanted to race, but you know what? I wasn't born wealthy. You want to be a professional race car driver? There's actually really no such thing, and it's all a myth. The kids that do the underling things, no. It's not paid for. Just to start on a rung that your kid is, your dad needs to be able to shell out $750,000 a year and just burn it for a low-ranking thing. So I built cars. I learned how to restore them and drive fast and do that sort of thing, and I at least enjoyed it. But I wasn't born into the wealthy class that got to do that sort of thing, period. But by doing that, it taught me how to build cars and work on them, do that, and I created a little business to do that. And it was really hard. And I built the Omega car. Because back when Obama was full of crap and lying about retooling Detroit so the energy fuel-efficient cars of tomorrow built here for the sake of the nation and the world, yeah, we never did it. After the financial crisis, you know, we had to bail out GM and all that, the taxpayers, and we doubled down on muscle cars and big trucks that cost too much for everybody. Even though I like muscle cars and big trucks, we never did anything. But I did. That was the car I talked about on Tucker Carlson early this year. Something that cost about $20,000, $25,000 to mass produce, per example. Something that'd be more recyclable. Something that has a lower environmental impact, lower energy to produce. And my prototype, just on diesel internal combustion engine alone, without the aerodynamic fairings and no tuning, got 104.7 miles to the gallon right out of the box. That includes turns and stop signs. I built that with my bare hands and using my brain.
I need that.
The next day, I did 0 to 60 testing of it. Beat my Dodge Viper 0.2 of a second. Exactly matched a C7 Grand Sport Corvette and a Tesla Model 3 rear-wheel drive with a full charge, to be fair.
Okay, that's all cool. That's all good and all, but now he's just glazing himself. Respect. W glaze, but you know, I don't really care that much. But it does sound cool. I got to respect what he's doing. He's building things with his own bare hands. Much respect.
And the Tesla got progressively slower as the battery went down. So the third day, what I did is I did some mathing. Now, I ain't no rocket surgeon or math magician like you for going to Harvard and Yale, and I might just have gone to the Ohio State University, and I'm one of us dumb Ohio normies that you look down upon and condescend to with your superior Indian intellect, as you seem to like to make us all believe is what you think. Well, I did some mathing. Turns out the EPA numbers got on what the carbon offset is of burning a gallon of diesel. Turns out they got numbers on what the carbon footprint is of generating a kilowatt hour electricity, national average. And would you believe that my car has a lower carbon footprint per mile on straight diesel than an EV does? Blows the leftist narrative for the last 20 years. You know, the leftist narrative that helped Elon got rich in building Tesla while using American taxpayer dollar to help along the way. Ain't that interesting?
Subsidies?
So I built that. Why? Because I got tired of politicians lying to everybody, and I actually knew how to do something, and it proves the point. But there's no support anywhere in America for any innovation like that. Because basically now we just live in a kleptocracy.
Yep.
Where the wealthy of the plutocracy just figure out new ways to pilfer money.
Yep.
New
Basically.
ways to take it away from all of the people, all of their businesses. Oh, take it away from the students before they ever have a future, with massive college tuition paid for by federal student loans that you can't default on, oftentimes for majors with no jobs, destroying the future of America, destroying the families and destroying the students' lives before they ever have a chance to be in the workforce, while universities have multi-billion-dollar endowments that if they invested a fraction of that, they could pay for the scholarships of many, if not all of their students, but they don't. And politicians don't make them. But I built the car, it exists, and it works. What have you ever built? You ever change your own oil? You ever adjust the distributor cap on a small block Chevy or Ford?
changed
I don't
my
think
own
so. You think you're so smart, but you can't do anything, you can't build anything.
Yeah, true. Expose
I didn't
them.
stop there. I also did Genius Garage, 501c3 public educational charity.
I read
Real
about
one.
it, Casey. I read about
Doing
it.
that for the last 11 years.
Good man.
I stopped counting over 11,000 hours of volunteer time in the charity. And you know what? My life is much more worse off monetarily from having done that. Why did I do it?
But it was
because
worth
the
it.
American educational system sucks. And that was the difference I could actually make with my time and whatever scraps of money I could find or give them my own. So I mentored students, all kinds. White, black, Asian, even Indian descent. Straight, gay, trans, bi. Not really my business, but there's some of those in there too. You know what else? You know why I did it? Just because they're people.
Because he's a patriot.
Just because I cared. Just because I wanted to give them a shot based on what's in their head and their heart.
He loves his state.
And not because of what their last name is or how much money their family's worth.
Yep. That's admirable.
I guess, does that make me a lefty? Or does that just make me somebody with good conservative values that gives a damn about my fellow man?
There you go.
That gives a damn to make this state, this community, and this nation more prosperous. Even if it takes my investment, even if it takes my sacrifice to do. But what the hell have you ever done with your vast wealth? In the last
Pillage.
year alone, you've increased your wealth, what, 800 million damn dollars?
Yep.
You've done nothing.
Typical.
Zero. And now you want to be the governor of Ohio. And you write leftist propaganda pieces to tear down conservatives, to try to put them into a pen so you can metaphorically just pick them off. I'm being a very good boy right now, not using expletives. You're revolting garbage. You mean not garbage in terms of being a person and a soul, but garbage in terms of a politician, garbage in terms of a leader, garbage in terms of a role model or anybody that should be anywhere near politics or leadership or anything that has to do with shaping the course of the American dream or future. You need to go. Franklin has had enough of Vivek Ramaswamy. Yeah, I helped a lot of students. Yeah, it hurt. Yeah, it was difficult. No, my life is not better off for it. Theirs is. The future is. All of the millions of people on YouTube that have seen it have at least been inspired somewhat to do some good, some modicum of good for the future, just because it's worth doing that which you have never done. So maybe explain that to me and the rest of the constituents of Ohio and the rest of the world, why you've never done anything for anybody with your vast wealth.
It's for him and his buddies.
My family's all Ohio. We've been in Ohio for bloody well ever. It's not about heritage American, but you know, that's where our values come from. So explain to me why you don't have those values. Explain to me why you don't build something like the Omega car, even if it's not in your immediate best monetary interest just because it matters, just because people need to know what's possible for the future. Explain to me why you've never built schools or helped anything like that with your vast wealth. Explain to me that.
Because it's not profitable.
Because we're all smart enough to realize the track record and what you've done with your past is probably a pretty good indicator with what you do in the future. Because I've said it plenty of times. Even if I was wealthy, I would still do Genius Garage. I just might not feel as bad of, hey, can we go out to eat tonight? Should we eat pasta or can we actually afford to grill some chicken or a steak? But you've never had to worry about that, have you? What keeps you up at night? Vivek Ramaswamy is just revolting across the board. Just revolting. You know, people don't like him for a myriad of reasons. And everybody's entitled to dislike the guy for whatever reason you want to. Because he's pretty loathsome. I don't like him because his track record. I don't like him because him running for governor of Ohio is an absolute insult and affront to life, to all people, to everything. They are literally pissing in our face and telling us it's rain. And then they'll write propaganda pieces and say how we're terrible human beings if we don't like getting pissed in our face. You know, Vivek, we don't have to explain to you a damn thing. I don't have to explain anything to you. You pigs, you don't care. But we're all American. Because we feel it in our bones and we already know. We don't need some jerk who's never done anything for anybody, who doesn't give a damn about this state and his entire track record shows it, thinking he's going to propagandize and tell us who we are and how we should feel and who we should not associate with or not. We are Ohio home and America first.
We need to defend our nation.
What does that mean? We want to take care of our own people and our own country first.
That's right.
What does Ohio home mean? It's pretty damn clear. You know, it's that place you grew up in and went to Catholic school as a Hindu and then left for college and basically never looked back. The place you came back to as a consolation prize because you couldn't hack it anywhere else, or with the Democrats before, or with the Republicans. You know, couple other things, Vivek. You know, when you did your big opening announcement thing, and you came to the Glass City Arena here in Toledo, Ohio, which is my neck of the woods, I went by to see what it was like. It was funny because I took a picture of my watch 4 or 5 minutes before you went on stage. There was like nobody there. People had to take down chairs so they wouldn't realize that there's so few people there. And I've realized I've thrown parties that had more people than your big, expensive, paid-for announcement after running to be the president and hanging out with all the wealthiest people in the world and going to almost do Doge, but you can't bring anybody in except the people that are already part of the Republican Party. And your Boy Scouts just as props to make it look like you care remotely. I'd like to see you try to whittle a Pinewood Derby car. Don't cut yourself. We're an absolute joke. Forget about Vivek. I don't want to talk to him anymore. Is it true that he's wearing shoes that are like 2-3 sizes too big for him and lifts to make him look taller and bigger? Because that's crazy. Mine fit. Like I got skinny wrists and ankles. I'm built like a Dutchman, even though all my family comes from Bavaria and England. Although nowadays I don't want to claim the English side. Yeah, mine fit because I have to do work in them. Let me show you something, Vivek. This is something that'll interest you. These here are my cleanest New Balances. They're dirty. Now these are good for mowing the lawn. These are good for fixing your Corvette or watching Initial D if you're into drifting. They are comfortable and sensible and look good. And that's it. Which makes me seem really middle-aged and kind of like a boomer right now. I did that to be funny. Now these are my hiking boots. This is a gift from my mother and father-in-law, and they got holes in them. You know why? Because I do metal fabrication and welding them, and these are the things that keep my feet from getting destroyed. Danners, from doing actual real work. Manual labor. You know? That you would love for us Americans to all do so you can just keep being a billionaire. Because it's funny, Vivek, your Indian side's showing too much. And what you're telling everybody is that you all want us dumb normie Americans, you don't want us to cast our vote. You want us to vote our caste. Like you do in India. Right? Yeah, I said something else that pissed off some private equity guys a while back ago. Which, by the way, I'm sick and tired of private equity and corporations buying up private homes. They have no business doing that. They're destroying the future with that too. And I'm going to have something to say about that pretty soon. So I pissed off some private equity guys. Why? Because they're not much different than Vivek. They've got some money and they think they're special. And that's what's known as fuck you money. Now, I'm sorry to curse. I know some of you don't like that, but that's what that's called. Well, there's something else called fuck you talent. There's something else called fuck you heart. And out of those three things, I know I got two of them. And it seems you only got one. That's why I'm running for the governor of Ohio as a Republican. I've always been a Republican, unlike Vivek. And for me, the pain of inaction far outweighs the risk and pain of action. I'm not backing down. Ohio's not backing down. Holding on to the dream and the belief and our future that we demand and we will take and we will build is not backing down. And if the Ohio Grand Old Party has any sense at all, they will back down from your endorsement.
It's captured, unfortunately.
One last thing, Vivek. You're real proud of your presidential endorsement from Donald J. Trump, aren't you? You got that in a tweet, but it's called X now, so I guess we called it an excrete? So Donald Trump excreted that he thinks you're a real swell guy and that you'll make a great governor of Ohio. That's neat. Okay. Well, wasn't he quoted at saying just the year prior that your campaign was deceitful? Politicians change their mind. That's okay. Well, and then a weird thing happened just last few weeks ago. Your polling numbers started trailing the Democrat, Amy Acton, who nobody much likes because she was part of locking down Ohio and COVID. But you knew that too because you were kind of part of that advisory board that was making it happen. But people keep saying that you wiped that off the internet and paid for it, right?
It's funny.
Or at least you knew. All she's got to do is smile right now because you're that bad. So old Donnie decided to endorse you again. Wow. 2 presidential endorsements? You see, your one-trick pony days are already over. That's why Franklin has had enough of Vivek Ramaswamy, because now we see what you really are. But see, the funny thing is, Vivek, from doing the Genius Garage nonprofit, heck, back in like 2017, I got a Lifetime Achievement Award from Donald J. Trump. Education. When I first hit 4,000 volunteer hours documented to that charity. You know, the funny thing is, I've got many other thousands of hours for charity in the past, raising money for them too. Actually doing it. Not the BS tax dodges that all you Washington likes and you billionaire types like to do. You know, actually helping people. Weird thought, right? Anyway, so I got a Lifetime Achievement Award from old Donnie. Got this really pretty certificate, got this really pretty enameled pin with the presidential crest on it. So I figure that's a presidential endorsement from Donald J. Trump. It's good for a lifetime. But you know what the difference is between mine and yours? I earned mine, helping people in Ohio. And you bought yours, so you can take advantage of people in Ohio. Everybody, this isn't vanity and I'm not playing around. Me running for governor for Ohio as a Republican in the face of this adversity, of the tech bros, of the billionaires, of a gutless establishment that won't back you up, of people that'll just do these kind of favors so that we can all be taken advantage of is insane. The only way we're going to have a future is if we work together, and I do mean everybody. Why am I a Republican and not a Democrat? Well, it's simple. The same basic conservative values that help create this country and make it worthwhile for all of us are what I see there. I have been very saddened in the last 4 years of seeing the Democrat Party be radicalized in a way that takes advantage of groups which include African Americans and even the rainbow community. I don't think any of them are better off for the actions of the Democrats and being used for political leverage. And I think that's revolting.
Yeah, I agree.
So I don't see any value in the Democrat Party right now to where I can affect positive change in the world that actually matters. But I do see where I can do that with the Republicans. I don't agree with everything Donald Trump's done in the last year, but he is our president and I did vote for him. And I do support our nation.
Yep.
But I'm going to call it as I see it. If I see something that is morally wrong, I'm going to call it out, regardless on what side of the fence it's on. Because if we say seated and silent, it might be easier. But we're just going to lose our future and watch it happen. But if we stand up together and push back, we actually have the chance to have a future.
That's right.
So please go to Putsch, P-U-T-S-C-H, for Ohio. Check me out. I'm not perfect, but I'm here and fighting for all of us. Please donate. Please reach out on the website to everybody. Introduce yourself. If you wish to help in any way, we are paying attention. This is a team effort. I don't know where Vivek belongs. I don't know what his life path will be. I don't know what any higher power has in store for him. But I do know it cannot be governor of Ohio. Vivek, go make money somewhere else. Let me take care of everybody. You're not going to win this. At least leave with some shred of dignity. If you don't, we don't care. We're pushing back. See you guys next time.
Well, there you have it. That's Casey Putsch. So, all of that sounded really good. Credit where credit's due. That sounded really good. And he seems like a genuine, sincere guy who actually loves his state. And I actually might send some money his way. And to be clear, let's keep in mind, do not fall for sentimentalism. Do not fall for rhetoric. I agree with the sentiment and the thrust of what Casey Putsch is saying. All of the things he's saying sound good, but never be confused. Sweet words cannot be equated with direct action. They're not the same thing. Until we actually get a clear platform, a clear plan on what he specifically intends to do with the state of Ohio to improve its condition, we cannot rush to judgment. We cannot make hasty conclusions. Sit back, be patient, wait for things to unfold, and then make a decision, an informed decision, a prudent decision. Like I said, anybody can pull on your heartstrings, say the right things, appeal to your sensibilities, but you have to be more aware than that. You have to think critically and don't just jump on the bandwagon. Don't take the bait. Don't let how you feel or how somebody makes you feel inform your critical thinking, or rather prevent you from having critical thinking or prevent your critical thinking. You actually have to be cautious in these things. And the only reason I'm saying that is just because look at what happened last year with Trump. Project 2025. He gets shot. We're fighting back against the left. We're doing mass deportations. We're building a wall. And none of that has happened. None of that has come to fruition. So like I said, all the hype, at a certain point, we have to be over that. We have to be past that. We can't be falling for hype or sweet words or things that sound good. That's that. As far as Putsch is concerned, I think I would take him over Vivek Ramaswamy any day of the week. At least with everything I know about both people right now, which isn't very much. I know more about Vivek than him. But Vivek did used to work with the Democrat Party. He did want to be a Democrat. He did do DEI at his own companies. At all those subsidiaries that I was telling you guys about, under Roy Vant, all those subsidiaries, he was doing DEI at those things. On top of doing financial scheming and rug pulling people out of millions of dollars and getting richer in the process. And yes, he is a globalist, obviously, unquestionably. Why do you think he wants to deregulate? Why do you think he wants to bring AI and data centers to Ohio? To enrich himself. He does not care at all about anybody in Ohio. And Putsch, in his credit, or to his credit, seems to actually care about the state. He's from the state. He was born there. His entire family was born there. They own property there. He's opened up a 501c3 and done philanthropy there. So to his credit, he's put in real work to help the people of that state. That means something. That tells you about a person's character. That tells you about their values. And it seems like Casey Putsch is a more sincere and authentic actor than Vivek Ramaswamy by orders of magnitude. So as of right now, I got more faith in Putsch. I'm with Putsch. I like Putsch. I want to see what he says moving forward. I want to see what his plans are, what his more detailed plans are moving forward. And then based on the information that we gather in the subsequent months, then we'll be able to make a more confident decision once the race really gets started. But with that being said, I'm going to end the video here. But with that being said, I appreciate you guys for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, please like, subscribe, share, leave a comment. And until further ado, I'm out. Thank you.